Good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. I just get all excited when I hear you tap dance, and I just
I do too. I get all excited too.
It really starts the day, doesn't it? Seriously, since I have said that a week or so ago, I keep envisioning you on your desk in your office tap dance. It's quite the picture in my head.
Oh, I can only imagine. Now you have all the listeners picturing it also.
We should have some big conference and have you get up on the desk and tap dance. And I'll sing good morning.
Well, it's been a long time since I danced on tables.
Well, it could come to that. We might have to dance on tables and have people throw money in the fish bowl or something. Could come to that.
Oh, mercy.
Oh, gracious.
Good Monday morning.
Well, I have an article here that it's absolutely disgusting. But Hollywood, they have to have their way, and they are so blinded by things that are going on. And Jim Carrey, I guess he's an artist. I didn't realize he was an artist. And he draws or paints pictures or whatever it is that he does. And they're pretty disgusting. And I guess he's considering himself a political cartoonist now. But they're pretty disgusting. And he's drawn this grotesque picture of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And he says, this is a portrait of a so-called Christian whose only purpose in life is to lie for the wicked monstrous. And, of course, he's referring to President Donald Trump. And he had another picture here that they showed that's, I guess, supposed to be Putin and President Trump kissing his backside. By the way, Putin won his election this weekend. Really a big margin. You don't think anybody had any influence in there like Putin. You don't think Putin...
Collusion? Is there any collusion?
I don't think he colluded with himself.
No.
But, if he's doing that well, I think Donald Trump, he should say, next time I collude with you, I want a little better margin. I'm kidding, everybody. I'm kidding. I don't believe there was that kind of collusion going on, but I do believe that there is a dictatorship going on in Russia. It was like over 76%.
Wow.
That's a pretty big win.
Yes.
So,
now you either vote for Putin or you die.
I see Boris in the past.
Or you get to the gas. What was that? What was his? What they did to that double agent in the UK. Anyway.
All right. Well, anyway, Jim Carrey, he's disgusting, and he's trying to make his statement. I don't know. People say, well, I guess it's art, but I don't see it that way. And anyway, so Jim Carrey. Hollywood has to chime in, because they're, I've seen some of his movies, and they're pretty disgusting.
You know what I think of, the one thing I'm going to have to say is, that's the thing about art. You can, and it is an expression, and that's fine. If he wants to, draw on, what I have a problem with is the commentary. It just shows how hateful these people are. It shows that they see no beauty. The only beauty that they see are within Hollywood and what they consider beautiful. Mm-hmm. We have come to a point in our country where the only thing that we can do is smear and it's on both sides, call people names, smear each other, and act like a bunch of kids. So, they can't do anything that is all they see is hate. All they are filled with ugly. They're filled with hate. All they see is ugly, and and his painting is the expression of that. And that he is expressing. He is expressing hate. He is expressing ugly. And he is attacking
Christianity.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, something else and I can't think of the guy's name now, but he had to flee the country because he was getting ready to be arrested. He's a pedophile. Big man in Hollywood. These are the same people that gave him a standing ovation because they gave him an award when he was still overseas. I guess he's still hiding out. I don't know. But, and they hid Weinstein's, you know, they've hid all of their sexual, crimes, and harassment. Barbara Streisand came out and said she'd never been sexually harassed, that she wasn't like some of those girls with the pretty noses. Which I got a big kick out of that, but I don't believe it. I don't buy it. But, you know, you and I both know it comes. It's there. It's there.
But it is how you
that doesn't mean we approve it. We do not approve it. We do not approve of. They go overboard. You know, all I've had is, you know, I wouldn't even call it harassment. You know, it's just, but, well, maybe it would be harassment, but it's, you know, they live on that. That is their lives. And then for them to point fingers at everyone else, it's just beyond me. But, anyway.
It's a world. It is a world.
It's beyond me, but I bring it to everyone else, so they could discuss it. Now, last night, Melody, maybe you've heard more about this than I have. I mean, it came out as breaking news last night, and then I haven't seen any more about it, but there was another explosion. Left I thought they said 2 deaths, but this particular article says 2 injured in Austin, Texas last evening. Do you have any details?
Well, there was 2 injured with the explosion last night, but so far the four explosions have left 2 dead, I believe, 2 or 3 dead.
Okay.
And so they do have and the one last night was caused by a tripwire. So it's a different level of a skill.
Expanding.
Yes, and the police are playing with the bomber to call them. They have 500 officers dealing with this. They've had, you know, hundreds and hundreds of interviews, hundreds and hundreds of leads. The residents are asked to stay inside, and it's you know, and you don't hear anyone talking about it, which is what's amazing. It used to be that something like this would be on the, you know, be the headline news, and all you're getting is a little bit of
just here and there.
Just here and there.
Just a little bit. And like last night, if it had been something else, they'd have quit all the other news shows, which are repeats anyway, in that time of the evening would have been done, and they'd have just covered that like they did with some of the other things. Of course, they were a little bigger, I guess. But this is getting pretty serious. I remember the Unabomber. Mm-hmm. It wasn't pretty. And, you know, so Kaczynski was the name.
These boxes have been left on porches, but the bomb yesterday was left, I'm not sure they're confirming, but was possibly on the side of the road.
Of the road?
Of the road. The explosion injured 2 males who were riding or pushing bikes on the street. So they also said that the school buses would not make pickups in that neighborhood Monday morning. Blah blah blah. There's no. Of course, they're saying they're not sure if it was related. Well, duh. You know. It
was different. It could be somebody else trying to get you know, something out there. I'd still call that related.
Well, they say the bombs. Yeah, but they said the bombs are fairly similar.
Okay.
So the bombs themselves are similar. The only difference is there was a tripwire. There's the tripwire. Something you see in movies.
I thought I understood that they had also found a package. Maybe that ended up to be nothing, that they were investigating a backpack or something in that same neighborhood. So apparently it's targeting this one particular area. That's what I'm understanding. And, you know, and I wish they'd find him or her quickly. Good.
Yeah, so
everybody would dress diesel better, I'm sure.
Yeah, but so it was kind of interesting. So anyway, I got sidetracked there. So
that's okay. I could tell you kind of had a shiny over there. Anyway, go ahead. What did you find?
I didn't find anything.
Oh.
It's Monday. You don't find things on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
I watched a movie last night. It was Jumanji.
I love that movie.
Isn't it adorable? It's the new one. I've never watched the old one with Robin.
Oh, you have?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's adorable.
But the new one, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, it has topped $400 million at the domestic box office, and it has the Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. It was an adorable movie. It was very kid-friendly fantasy, and I really liked it. I was surprised. I was that bored last night. I worked in the office, and I worked. And
then you went out to the movie.
Well, actually, no. I watched it on demand.
Oh, okay.
I watched it on demand.
Had your own popcorn.
So listeners, I had my own popcorn, so that way I get to watch the movie with Ruby. And so, yeah, it was a very, very good movie. I was pleasantly surprised.
Speaking of Ruby, you don't ever take her on an airplane, do you?
When I purchased her, I actually went to Atlanta to buy her. And she got, I had a little carry-in case, and she came on board with me, but she was small enough at that time I could just put her underneath the seat. Okay. And it was funny because when I was getting on the plane, there was a gentleman sitting behind me, and he had offered to put the bag up in the cabinet, up in the carriage luggage container on top. And I said, no, there's a puppy in there.
Well, they've been having an awful lot of incidences and such with the animals on the planes, and so that made me think of Ruby, and I just was wondering because of all of that, if you ever had to. I know you travel once in a while. If you ever had to take her on board.
Well, on board, I think they can weigh up to like 18 to 20 pounds, and she's like 24, so she'd have to go on a diet first. And but she cared.
What kind of dog is Ruby?
She's a Welsh Terrier.
Okay.
And she's very well crate trained. And when I travel, she actually goes in. When I travel by car, and she comes with me, she's in her container. And you don't hear a peep out of her, so she'd be very airline friendly. But I wouldn't put her in a cargo. And I've heard too, and I did tell, and I flew Delta, and I think they are the most pet friendly airline. So I would fly Delta again if I ever flew with her. But as I said, she'd have to go on a diet because I would not put her up in the. She wouldn't have to fit underneath the seat.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, she's probably not willing to go on that diet, but, like most of us girls, we fight that. I'm always dieting.
Yeah, but she doesn't have a choice. I could very easily withhold her food.
Oh, goodness. I hear music. We're heading into a break. I want to talk a little bit about some of the tweets that went on, and I'm sure that Melody's got some news going on with us. It's beginning of the week, so there's no telling what's going to happen with the markets and the gold and the silver, but I'm sure there's something going on, especially with some of these elections. We are headed into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann, we're going to be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually, there is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and we have another girl going to join us in the morning with Lauren from Ohio. Lauren, how are you doing today?
Good morning, ladies. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good. Lauren,
Hey,
don't you just love it? Don't you? I was going to ask you, don't you just love it when Melody tap dances?
When she dances?
When she tap dances when we start the show.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Got the shuffle. Got the...
Quit making fun of me.
I know, I love you. Go ahead.
We love you.
We do.
Hey, so listen, you guys were talking about that Austin thing, and I thought it was really important, and maybe you guys could get this folks on for a guest. Or in one of the hours. I know you got, 2 hours. I don't know where you'd fit it, Beth Ann. But here's the thing. This guy's name is James Wesley Howell. He was tasked to bomb the Gay Pride Parade the same day as Omar Martin was at the Florida nightclub shooting. Remember that?
Yeah,
he was supposed to, on the same day, bomb a Gay Pride Parade. Well, California is, 3 hours behind the East Coast. He saw that the Omar Martin got killed, and so he turned himself into police because guess what? He was trained with Omar Martin, with the guy that tried to take Trump's gun. His name was Dan Stansford. And then there was another. I was taking notes on this, but I'm working while I'm doing this, and I'm doing the best I can. But there's another one too. They were trained in groups of 4. They were at a CIA training base. He turned himself into local police when he saw that Omar was killed after his participation on the same day as the nightclub shooting. He knew he was being set up as a patsy, so the FBI swooped in and have him isolated isolated. There's no charges, no crime, no news coverage. It's 21 months later, and no one will look into it. An attorney went down there. She's an attorney and an investigative reporter. Her name was Brenda Corpian. She got to interview him, but they wouldn't give her attorney-client privilege, even though she's a licensed attorney in California and should have had that right. They let the interview continue until he talked about, and I believe it was Omar Martin was the witness, Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin were seen at a CIA Islamic training camp, and that's when they cut the interview off. So then the lawyer, Brenda Corpian, she gets beat to death. They tried to beat her to death and threw her body in a dumpster. But three men grabbed her. Well, then a homeless man found her, and she wound up living. So this is what's going on. All these terrorist attacks, all these bombings. And he said what they were doing, he said, well, what did they do with you there? He said they took us in and basically ran them through a little mini boot camp, like a military boot camp, but they weren't military. They were just, These are the patsies. This is who they're going to, you were talking about, oh boy, this feels like Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was in a mind control program. The Aurora shooting, multiple shooters. The San Bernardino, multiple shooters. Fort Hood, multiple shooters. Okay? So even the Florida, the school, Parkland, multiple shooters. 4 guys with duffel bags exiting the school. On the opposite end of the building is the students. Okay, so what I'm saying is this is all basically the globalists saying, do what we say or we'll raise hell in your country. We'll bomb, we'll blow things up. So I want people to understand where it's coming from so that we can do something about it. They're actually bringing people in, training them to do these things. And see, they're telling these people, oh, you're helping the government. You're helping, because they've got to think they're helping because they don't think they're going to get killed on the back end of it. Well, when he saw Omar Martin go down, that's right. But see, that's not what they're telling them when they're signing them up. So, and they've been doing this. This is not anything new. It's just this time we have a witness who is still cooling his heel in L.A. jail. And maybe you can get, and let me give you the lawyer's name too. Angelo Torello. Torello is the attorney. Angelo Torello. And see if you can get an interview with him or with Brenda Corpian, the attorney that interviewed him, or with the man himself, James Wesley Howell. And let's start putting out there what these people are willing to do in order to try to make us yield to their will. Because in the end, this is, I'm going to punch you. It's what we're doing to Iraq. I'm going to punch you in the head till you do what we say. What are the Iraqis saying? Please leave our country. No, we're not leaving. Syria, please leave our country. We've democratically elected Assad. They're invited the Russians in. Oh, well, we're not leaving. Excuse me. Who are we to invade other people's countries? Tell them how they're supposed to live. Tell them we won't leave. What in the world is going on here? So it's going to take the people understanding this government is not your government. It's a corporate entity that's serving the globalist power structure, the bankers, the 13 families. Say again?
And I'm just going to throw this out, and it's not just Democrats. It's Republicans and Democrats.
Well, no, that's the whole point. They work together. There's only one Constitution. Democrat or Republican, you're supposed to be for it. So, what is this trying to break down our ability to defend our country? The population having guns. Why didn't Hirohito, invade America? Because there's a gun behind every big blade of grass. These people were educated in the United States. They understand how it works here. 300 million plus guns.
They absolutely understand how it works, and it's in their writings. This
that's
thing
how come
from
the only way they can get this to work is if we give it up.
Right there. It tells it right in that Saul Alinsky thing. Gun control, remove the ability to defend themselves from the government.
That's right. And then make it so hellish that you want more police, that you actually scream for, send more police, send more police.
Yeah. And that's the
and then
next
you're willing to reach in the pocket and pay for it.
So you can make a police state. Yep.
That's right. And you actually pay and beg them to do what they, and that's why I'm saying I just don't want people to fall for this, and I'm hoping that maybe you can get some of these people on for an interview. Let's get it out there. What this government, criminals in the government, I'm not going to say it's the government because there's a lot of good people in government. It's criminals like Hillary Clinton. How do you sell 20% of America's uranium, take a bunch of money, and nobody's getting in trouble? What is going on here? So I just thought that might be interesting for you ladies to,
it's very interesting.
because,
It is, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it.
Well, you have
See
a
what we
beautiful
can do.
day. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it. She's absolutely right. And this is so thick. This is absolutely so thick, the swamp, speaking of the corruption in our D.C. occupiers occupying offices and cutting deals. I was following, not real close, but there was a tweet thread that was going, and it started out with the president. And he was talking about McCabe, Andrew McCabe being fired. And, of course, this is just days before he was going to retire. And he's not going to get any of his
He might get some. He might get some.
He's not supposed to. But anyway, not what he was going to get.
Right.
So then John O'Brien, he tweets out, when the full and let me read President Trump's. Andrew McCabe fired. A great day for the hardworking men and women of the FBI. A great day for democracy. I hate it when they say that. Sanctimonious James Comey was his boss and made McCabe look like a choir boy. He knew all about the lies and the corruption going on at the highest levels of the FBI. So then John Brennan says, when the full extent of our venality, moral turpitude, I love these words, and political corruption becomes known, you will take your rightful place as a disgraced demagogue in the dustbin of history. You may scapegoat Andy McCabe, but you will not destroy America. America will triumph over all. And then Samantha Powers comes out and she tweets, this is in the thread, not a good idea to I won't say what she said, make John Brennan angry. And then James Woods, probably one of the most vocal conservatives out of Hollywood, says, and this right here, folks, is why we have a Second Amendment. They are so disgustingly corrupt. They are corrupt within their own little groups. I mean, they're not even honest with one another. While, Lauren is absolutely correct, and the Republicans and Democrats, they're all in it together. And I've always said they only hate each other in front of the camera, but I think that is kind of switched. They plain out hate each other. And it isn't because they're worried about what one side or the other is doing to the American people. It's because one got ahead of the other, or one actually snitched on one of the others and somebody's in trouble. It has nothing to do with the America's liberty or the American people. We can already see that that's not it. And the Democrats, we've got a caller. We'll get to you in just a minute. The Democrats are trying to rescue McCabe by hiring. They're trying to figure out how they're going to fix it so McCabe doesn't lose his retirement, and so they're going to save McCabe. But
you know what? That's just amazing. None of them, the Democrats, they don't even talk about what McCabe did or didn't do.
No.
They're just all concerned about his stupid pension, and it's just like, who cares? Who cares?
Where's your pension? Where's my pension? Where's America's pension?
Not his pension. Talk about what he did or didn't do. And if you have proof that he didn't do it, well, then talk about it. So obviously they don't have proof that he didn't do anything, or they'd be squawking about it. But they can, 26 hours before. Well, who cares? It's just, but you know what? The corruption is so thick. And I was talking to someone this morning. We were talking about the corruption. And it's like it is evil. Some of it's evil. But I think there's a lot of people in D.C. who I don't even think they quite understand that what they're doing is I don't think they view themselves as being corrupt. I think it's just become part of the. It's just become part of the process. It's become part of the system.
Game. It's the political game.
It's the game. It's what it is, and that's what it was built into. That's what has, and that's what it is. So, when
the game gets ugly, the bullies turn the board over, and I think it's we're watching that. I'm laughing, but it isn't funny because our freedom and our liberty is on the line. In fact, we've lost most of it already, and it's just I don't know. It's really getting bad, and the fact that they're going to try and save McCabe, they don't care about the American people, but they're going to try and
they're going to save him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's craziness. We're going to go to Joe in Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, and how are y'all?
Great.
Doing good.
Yeah, okay. I think that what Lauren from Ohio said was terrific, and I think it would be great if you would kind of follow up on what she said. And what she said reminded me of something that I heard a few months ago. I heard a clip of a speech by John McCain, and John McCain said, Vladimir Putin threatens the new world order. So I think that's the reason why we hear all this propaganda against Vladimir Putin, is because the same, he's against the same New World Order people that are doing all these crimes in our country. So the same New World Order people that are doing all these crimes against our country are propagandizing us so much against Vladimir Putin. And but what I really called about was I heard something the other day on Larry Kudlow's radio show that I wish somebody would explain to me. And he had on this guest named Thomas Sowell, who's a economic expert that the conservatives absolutely love and think is the greatest. And Thomas Sowell said it was the Smoot-Hawley tariffs and not the stock market crash that caused the Great Depression of the 1930s. And so, but he didn't explain why. So I tried to reason it out, figure out why he would say something like that. He also mentioned that during the Great Depression, we actually had a trade surplus. So if the Smoot-Hawley tariffs had anything to do with the trade surplus, you wouldn't think that a trade surplus would cause a depression. Depending on how big the trade surplus is, it might help get us out of the depression. And now the thing that the free traders always complain about tariffs, the reason they don't like them so much is that they raise prices. But as I understand it, during the Great Depression, we actually had deflation and prices went down. And the problem wasn't high prices. The problem was that people didn't have the money to pay the prices, even though they were actually lower than they were before. And but whereas so for those two reasons, I couldn't figure out why he would say that the Smoot-Hawley tariffs caused the depression. But as far as the stock market crash goes, which he said did not cause the depression, as I understand it, a stock market crash wipes out a lot of capital for businesses and wipes out a lot of savings of people that invested in the stock market.
Oh, yeah.
Therefore, it diminishes the money supply, and therefore people would not have money. Businesses would not have money to hire people and pay people, and people would not have so much money to buy stuff, and that could cause a depression, because that's what I understand what happened during the Depression. There was a diminishment of the money supply, so that even though stuff was available, people couldn't afford to buy it. So if somebody that understands economics a lot better than me could explain why this Thomas Sowell, who's such an economic expert, would say that the Smoot-Hawley tariffs caused the Depression and the stock market crash did not, I sure would appreciate getting some more understanding on this point.
Okay. Did you see any of that, Melody?
No, I didn't.
Okay, thank you very much. If anybody knows the answer, I'd appreciate it if they call. Or Melody would explain. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thomas. Okay. Thomas Sowell, isn't he the black conservative that just recently said he was going to retire from some of the politics or talk shows and such that recently? Isn't that who that is?
I don't watch.
Well, I haven't seen him on TV or anything. I've read a lot of his quotes and articles and such, and he really is quite smart.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say he has a lot of insight on the Civil War and slavery and what's happening with the black people today, how they're being used, and they're really in slavery today, and they just don't realize it. And but anyway, go ahead.
Well, I mean, you can always debate both sides of pretty much almost anything. And, when we talk about the tariffs going into, the Great Depression, tariffs were on tons of imported goods. It just wasn't one or two items like we see, with the washing machines and the steel, the aluminum, and the solar panels. So I mean, it was a lot more. It was significant, and I don't know. I mean, you can have an economist say that the smoot that those tariffs created the depression, or did it just add to it? Did it just exacerbate the Great Depression? So I mean, I wasn't there. But I mean,
there was a
but I mean, you can, and that those tariffs were signed. We had the stock market crash in '29. I think the Smoot-Hawley that went into effect shortly thereafter. People didn't have money. People didn't have money. So, but we were also on the gold standard also when these tariffs went into place until 1933. So and in most cases, I think in most of these financial adjustments that we have, you're going to have a little bit of both of depression. You're going to have a little bit of inflation and deflation. And I think we're even experiencing that here to some degree. So you can say that because when you put tariffs on things, it is a tax. It makes things cost more. People already didn't have any money. And when you have, thousands and thousands and thousands of imported goods, prices go up. Yeah, you could say that kind of added to the Depression. Did it create the Depression? I don't know if that was the single item that created the Depression, but it certainly added to it. Just like in today's, are we going to have the tariffs that were placed on by President Trump? Is that going to be the creation of, a drop in our stock markets and so forth? Not what he's placed on. I don't think it's going to have much impact at all, to be honest with you. I don't know what else to say about that. I don't know if I answered all of Joe's, questions or concerns. He's a big believer in tariffs, and I think that's great. And I think there's a little more that you can read into, tariffs. And tariffs are good to some degree, but it depends on the situation of your economy at the time that you place it. And the problem is they use them as a, oh, we need tariffs, so we place tariffs on, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So we got a couple of callers coming. We have Lauren is back. And
Lauren.
Sorry, I was just calling to answer Joe's question.
Oh, okay.
Do you have me? Okay,
yes,
so real quick, just remember, tariffs were the only funding for the government in this country. That's the only way that the government got money until they got this income tax that was supposed to only be on the corporation. It wasn't the tariffs that did it. The bankers restricted the money supply. They pulled in the money. So people lost everything because nobody could get loans. Remember in 2007? And we had, what they call it? They didn't call it. They called it, I can't believe I just spaced. What do they call it every time they keep expanding the money supply? QE. QE1. When they got to QE2, I said, just go straight to QE4. QE forever. Because that's what you're going to have to do. Keep increasing the money supply so that people think that there's something really, But the bottom line is they took in the money. Remember when all the small businesses from 2007, 2008, they couldn't get loans.
They couldn't get loans, and loans were called in.
Trillions of dollars. Why couldn't people get loans? Because the bankers wouldn't give them any money. It's just a simple. They restricted the money supply, and then
they blame it on regulation. And they blame it on regulation. Yeah, and they blame it on regulation. Oh, it was the regulations. No, it wasn't. I know a lot of people where the business loans. Tariffs are good, and you need them because that's the only way that you can self-sustain. How do you fight a war when you don't make steel and you don't make, we don't have any lead smelters in this country. Really? How are we making our bullets? Oh, we'll use inferior product, or it's just crazy. So, no, it's not the tariffs. Joe's right. You need tariffs, and tariffs is the only thing the government should be running on. They shouldn't have all this, the biggest employer in the country is the government. There shouldn't be any jobs except the jobs, the Congress, the Senate, the basic stuff, and everything funded at the local level. If you want it, pay for it. Not all this collectivism, not all this Medicare, Medicaid, not all that. And the only reason you could do that is because they broke the Constitution.
the bottom line is you're not supposed to be able to steal the fruit of a man's labor from him. The taxes were only on corporations, but they look at you as a corporation. There's another interesting guess you might have. Kelby Smith, hisadvocates.com, or .org, hisadvocates.org. You don't even have to pay taxes. Another one, Weiss Paris, I think he's com. And legally, lawfully, you don't even have to pay taxes. But you do have to understand how the game works. So those might be some interesting guests, too. WeissParis.com and Kelby Smith at hisadvocates.org. But anyway, thanks a lot, ladies.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. Wow. You know, it's...
Let's see what Jay in Pennsylvania has to say, and then I'll say what I have to say.
All right.
Jay, are you there, Jay, in PA?
Yes, I am. I want to tell you that I was a union representative back in the 70s, and I was in the office one time, and a guy come in and told me, there's someone down on the catwalk writing things down. Well, union rep, we automatically think time study. And that's exactly what it was. It was Jimmy Carter's brother-in-law. He worked for White Consolidated, and he came into the office, and he explained to me that he was working there. And I asked him, why can't you get a job with the in the administration? And he said, well, after JFK, they can't hire immediate family like that. So me and him were talking. It was the election year, and he was telling me I had to go to another plant. He came with me, and we were going by all these steel factories, these steel mills. And he said, you know, if Ronald Reagan gets in there, he's going to lower the tariff tax, and this is all going to become one big rust belt. This place employed 20,000 people. It was huge. Jones and Laughlin Steel. You know what? That's exactly what Ronald Reagan did. He lowered the tariff tax. He let the Japanese dump steel in, shut down our steel industry. It's like a domino effect. Then it went to the textile industry. Ronald Reagan wiped, and people say he was the greatest president. He was not the great. He let him tax your savings account. The government was never allowed to do that before.
Okay, hang on. We're going into a break, Jay. We're going into a break. 717-300-1218 is the number to call. That's 717-300-1218. And Melanie and Beth Ann, and I think Jay. We're going to be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our Listen and Schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. We're in the final segment of today's show. It's a Monday, and it has gone fast. And Melody, do you want to?
Let's go to Tom in Michigan. Tom in Michigan first. Yes.
Go to Tom first. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Yeah, I just on tariffs, they're a lawful form of tax revenue for the government.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's basically my whole deal with the tariffs. The income tax is not lawful. And basically, the Supreme Court said in Stanton versus Baltic Mining that the 16th Amendment didn't create any new taxing powers. They were confirming the Bushhaver versus Union Pacific Railroad in 240 U.S. 1 that went into more detail. The thing is with tariffs, they're supposed to be used for raising revenue, not for picking winners and losers. I noticed that I think what caused the depression was the Federal Reserve when they had real low interest rates and bid the market up to the moon, and then just pulled the rug out, and which caused a lot of margin calls and things of that nature, and it kind of fed on itself. Then I suspect that the 18th Amendment may have had something to do with the Great Depression, where that people, when they were told that law-abiding citizens were told they couldn't go buy a beer and after work or what have you, that they just kind of rebelled at being made criminals. Then in 1933 they repealed the 18th Amendment. I've read articles by other people, by not Thomas Sowell, but about Smoot-Hawley, and they claim that Smoot-Hawley got a bad rap because Smoot-Hawley didn't even get implemented until after the Great Depression was well underway, and and I don't remember the details. If it wasn't tariffs have to be uniform. That's a stipulation on the indirect taxing powers of Congress. So, I mean, personally,
well, I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and like you mentioned here a week or so ago when we were talking about it, if they pick and choose who they give the tariffs to, then that's more of a sanctions rather than a tariff. So.
Yeah, especially I think I heard on the on the news shows that they're from somebody real high in the government that they're doing it under the a National Securities Act, not a taxing power of Congress. So yeah, it's really a misnomer to call what's going on now tariffs. The higher prices, that's the whole basis for indirect taxation is, if you don't want to pay the higher price, well, fix the old one, don't buy a new one. Personally, I'm not bragging, but I worked on a garbage truck for a while, for about 20 years ago, and I was out in the suburbs, the McMansions, the big houses on small lots, and it was incredible that the stuff we used to, crush in the back of the garbage truck and take it out to the landfill. I mean, people get tired of it and they just throw it out. And you get anybody who does that job, it's well, not so much nowadays because it's all automatic. We used to have to walk behind the truck and actually, pick the stuff up and throw it in. But I don't know, just saying, I'm for tariffs because they're legal, and I wish the government would start obeying the law. They're keeping, I think, a lot of people out of the, participating, but because of the income tax and all the bookkeeping, that people shouldn't have to worry about that.
Well, you know what? I just want to make a statement here. I agree with tariffs. I agree with what everyone has said, but let's bring it forward to today. Let's modernize and talk about how the tariffs that are being placed, just as what you said, will it make an impact? How will it change? How is it going to change the people's buying habits? Where is it going to trickle down? Are these extra costs, are prices going to? This is what we need to talk about today. I mean, to talk about how the tariffs, yes, we do need to know history and so forth. I get all that, and I understand where it comes from, and I understand, the positives of the tariffs. But here we are today. And that's the only thing. Go ahead.
If it's used for raising revenue, I think it reaches a balance to where the market doesn't get flooded, and also there isn't any protectionism. But it's using doing the math and and figuring out the exact balance of and they have to be uniform. And I think that if you start trying to speculate how it's going to affect people, the markets can usually find a way. If that would be if we were getting our money from tariffs and other indirect taxes, then people who wanted to save their money or invest their money could invest 100% of what they're paid, and not having to pay the IRS first. And if they wanted to take those years and live lean and not pay the higher prices, they could, make a bigger down payment on a home or, a big ticket item and not have to pay the interest and things of that nature. But, there again, it's just, if it's just used for raising revenue and, the supply and demand controls that. And there's college classes taught on how to predict those, price trends.
Well, all right.
I mean, a lot of people don't like them. People in the service industry are going to want the lower prices. I hate to talk that way about so many people, but I think they really are influenced. They want the lower prices, and they don't care about having manufacturing inside on our own soil. And I mean, I don't think that's the way a country prospers, by being a service industry. But,
I agree with you. But we also have to talk reality where we are as a nation and where our finances are. And you're right. When we pick and choose, you put past tariffs, okay, great, keep them. But then when you exclude one country, then you exclude another country, and then you'll exclude any ones that can come to us with a decent reason to exclude them, well, we'll consider it. And at the end of the day, the top 10 exporters to the U.S. of steel, how many of them are going to be excluded from the tariffs? And so, and then when you exclude too many, it's like, what's the point?
It's not uniform.
You're right.
It's not uniform when they do that.
Right. So, I mean,
So the tariff is defined in the Constitution. They use the word tariff. You can word search it. And it'll, it's in the class of indirect taxation, and so all indirect taxes have to be uniform within the United States. And, if you're, I assume, that's got to mean a certain percentage on all steel, whether, maybe some countries aren't able to sell us steel then at that price, and other countries are. But see, that's not our job to run their economy. Our job is to raise revenue for our economy.
That's right.
Exactly. But we sure do need a whole lot of revenue. And that's another story.
I even saw that on the mainstream news, on Fox News, where they're talking about, oh my gosh, the interest on this debt is getting so high that we don't know if we're going to be able to pay it. And it was just a little blurb, and I saw it one time, and it was gone. So I don't know if they want the people hearing stuff like that or what.
No, of course they don't. That would ruin the confidence of the world that things are great here in the United States financially. So no, they got to keep the markets going. They got to keep the system going. And if anything that I have to say with the tariffs, that again, and this was the one reason why I voted for Trump, was because when we have the system collapse, hey, that's it. To have tariffs at that point in time is great. So maybe this is an early indication also that where we're headed financially as far as our monetary system is concerned. So.
Well, if you ask anybody if they'd be in debt if they had a printing press and could print lawful money to a person, they all say no. Heck no.
Print it and pay it. I'm behind on Monopoly. Let's go get another board so I can have more money. All right, we're out of time. Appreciate the call, Tim. Thank you always for your insight. I hear the music. It's playing free, and that's what we're fighting for, is our freedom and our liberty. Melody, it's been a great Monday.
It certainly has.
It has been. And we're trying. We'll try to get some of these guests. I was writing them down pretty fast as Lauren was giving them to me, but we'll be back tomorrow.
Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.